Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? And welcome. I'm going to say a few hellos. Oh, we've got a lot of people on here. Edmund, 184. Evening, sir. Glad to have you here. Gammon Sandwich, what about you? Mr. Davison, brilliant to have you here, sir. Julia Skinner, welcome aboard. Brian LeBrunt, what about you, chum? Glad to have you here. Rill, what about you? Glad to have you aboard. Steve Cray, one of the best mods about the place. Brilliant to have you here. Toffee, what about you, chum? Raymond Piper, Amanda Lee in the house. Oh, Dave's Waffles House. Excellent. For any of you that are unaware, Dave's Waffle House was formerly known as Planet X Hunter. Dave, would you do us a wee favour and stick in the chat what time your afternoon show comes on at? Because I want to give that a shout out. But I know it's somewhere around either 3 or half 3, but don't know exactly. Woodlander, what about you, chum? Glad to have you here. October, evening, brother. Oh, my wonderful, sexy girlfriend, Emma G, what about you? Hope all's going well. Robert Ingram. Quack, quack, it's a duck. Audio proper strong one, thanks, Steve. XL Thanking, what about you? Rory Herbert, what about you, chum? Glad to have you here. Toffee. Oh, Jill Citizen's lurking. I've got the royalty in. Real Stephen. And Sally, welcome aboard. Amanda Lee, I think I said hello to you as well. But if I already said hello, you've got two. So there you go. That's all our hellos. I was going to say to give that lurker tray a shake and see if Dave's Waffles House was there, but he's arrived. Excellent. Right. Rags is in the place, even also, brother. And he's got the link for Dave's Waffle House. Give that a wee subscribe. Well done, Rags. Good work. So, a couple of shout outs. First off, very warm welcome to anybody who came along from Sansom and Bonnie Ladd's stream earlier on. He had Ragnar Ironsphere on as a guest. Another very good stream. They go live every Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And if you like my stuff, you're probably going to like theirs as well. So you may as well get yourself over there for listen to that one as well. Next week, they've got their, I think it's the third stream looking at the issues around transgender people, which is always good. So get that, go over and have a look at that. Tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock, I believe it is, Ragnar Ironsphere is going to be on. No confirmed guest, maybe a call-in show, but there's something for you tomorrow night. Our friend John Davison's in the chat every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Always a good show with John. And as I said earlier, Davis Waffle House, formerly known as Planet X Hunter, does a show every weekday afternoon, and there's some other shows going on as well. Basically, he interacts and talks with a chat. It's a good, light-hearted, wee show, interesting listen, and the chat's very friendly. So get yourselves over to that if you're at a loose end in late afternoon, early evening. Oh, hold on. Hey, you can listen to 42 and watch the MOT match of the day with no sound, with the sound off, no commentators right now, just images. It's great. You can just chill. That's a better way to do match of the day. I honestly believe that. I'm going to come back and talk about the match of the day stuff and the BBC after I've went through the historical stuff, because it's probably best not. Well, I've got to say it's probably not best for in the first 20 minutes of a show for getting YouTube strikes and shit. Uh, very welcome, Dave. Yep. And thanks for the shout out you've been giving me as well. So there you go. Oh, Budgie Burgers in there. Raymond Piper, evening, sir. Puns and satire are banned tonight. Gammon sandwiches in. It's a duck. Linda Hunter's in from down under. Opinion of the Scotchman. Kind of liked it. Was that like breakfast at Tiffany's? Welcome aboard, Opinion of the Scotchman. Glad to have you here. I'm a G. Ludwig, what about you, sir? Glad to have you. We're with 32 people in the chat here, which is fucking excellent. Absolute pleasure to have that many people in watching live. Anybody that kicks about this channel and doesn't normally come into the chat, say hello. We're a nice friendly bunch, and provided you're respectful, you can have different opinions and whatnot. It'll all be fine. So if you are thinking about and wondering whether or not to actually get involved with the chat, go ahead, do it. Type the words. Before start, first thing to say, we're coming close to a year of doing this, where every week I look up British traditional events and festivals and all. And we've had a first week. The first week, and I reckon it's 10 and a half, 11 months. The first week that there is none. I think it's possibly to do with Lent, because March has been notably lower in festivals and traditional events than the rest of the year. And I think possibly because back in the day, whenever we used to do Lent, strictly where you fasted from sunrise to sunset, I think there's a possibility that. Oh, Salty Lacey, got a new subscriber. Sally Lacey has subscribed. Oh, thanks very much. Right, there you go. Yes, there's another thing. John Davison has hit the like, and now he's going to lurk. Go ahead, do that. Yes, and if everybody would like to go ahead and hit that like. Roy Herberts was born in Sheffield, so he's definitely on the Yorkshire side for this stream. Very good. Right. So, what was I saying? Yes, I think it's possibly down to Lent that a lot of our older traditions died off during Lent whenever there was fasting, because most of our traditions do involve food and drink and stuff. I think that could be what's at the bottom of it. But with this coming around to a year, I'm going to have covered most of the traditional festivals. One thing I'm definitely not going to do is do last year's streams again, where I cover all the same events. I will mention them in passing, but I'm not going to go into the deep dive on most of them, with possibly the exception of May Day, which was quite an important event. So I'll probably do quite a bit on that. Uh, but so what I'm going to concentrate on is historical events such as battles, coronations, kings, queens, that sort of stuff, with a smattering of uh, other stuff. The other thing I will do is, because we do the last stream of the month as a different stream with Sanson DJ, I'll probably pull back any events that happened in the last week of the month and cover them. So we still have some of the traditional events. And the other thing I would say is, anybody that has any ideas of content, something they want discussed in the stream, leave it in after the video's finished and uploaded. Stick stuff into the permanent comments at the bottom, and I'll have a look at them. Oh, what's Toffee at? I've only had 2 beers. I represent myself better than usual on a few. Yes, it's a matter of getting the correct level of drunk for whenever you're commenting or streaming Toffee. This is something you'll learn. For me, for streaming, the correct level of drunk is not at all. Otherwise, I talk shite, even more so than normal, which is not good. So there you go. That's just a bit of a channel update on what you can expect coming through. The other thing I will say is, anybody that wants to, hold on, take this in now. Right, okay. Anybody that wants to come on for I know that regularly I open up open up at the end and let anybody come on, but if anybody wants to come on that's in the chat just for a discussion about whatever issues, send me an email at 42rights@yahoo.co.uk, and I'll have a look at it and we'll get it organized. The other thing I will say is, Rory Herbert, we need to get organized to do the stream with you about the Irish Civil War. I'll get you an email off over the. I'll get an email off tomorrow, and we'll start getting that organized when we're going to get that done. Toffee reckons 2.5 beers and he's decent. That's probably about right. This comment's going to lead us into the actual meat and bones of tonight's stuff. Even to this day, there's a Lancashire rivalry. I remember my mum saying the only good thing about Lancashire was the road to Yorkshire. Well, funny you mention that. I would say the only good thing in London there is a Belfast Road out. But there you go. That's a whole other kettle of frogs. Anyway, let's start getting into this. Oh, holy fuck. Sorry. Yes, another show to shout out. Toffee, who's in the chat, tomorrow night is on with the Ayatollah, and I believe that starts at 9 o'clock. Raw with Toffee. If you put that in your search engine, if you type in Raw with Toffee, that'll get you to the channel, which will then get you'll be able to find the actual stream. So that should be a good chat as well. Here we go. So we're going to have a look at the War of the Roses. There was a couple of bits of this that are March centric. Obviously, this war did not last for 1 month, but there were a couple of bits that were March centric. Whenever I was looking up the history of events in March, so that's why I decided to go with that this week. And here we go. This is going to be coming from Encyclopedia Britannica. Let's see, get that up on the screen. Right, I just want to see what this looks like. That's probably large enough. Maybe zoom that in just once. See what that does. Right. Take that back to start. Right, hold on, I'm just checking through. Just checking the chat, people. Right. No. And Sally's going to jump on the bed and listen, so she'll be on the lurk. But very welcome and glad to have you here. Here we go. War of the Roses, English history. War of the Roses, 1455 to 1485 in English history, a series of dynastic civil wars whose violence and civil strife preceded the strong government of the Tudors, fought between the houses of Lancashire and York for the English throne. The wars were named for many years afterwards from the supposed badges of the contending parties, the White Rose of York and the Red Rose of Lancashire. Both houses claimed the throne through descent from the sons of Edward III. Since the Lancashirians had occupied the throne from 1399, the Yorkists might never have pressed a claim but for the near anarchy prevailing in the mid 15th century. After the death of Henry V in 1422, the country was subjected to the long factitious minority of Henry VI, August 1422, November 1437, during which the English kingdom was managed by the King's Council, a prominently aristocratic body that arranged, which probably did not accord to Henry V's last wishes, was not maintained without difficulty. Like Richard II before him, Henry VI had powerful relatives eager to grasp after power and to place themselves at the head of factions in the state. The council soon became their battleground. Great magnates with private armies dominated the countryside. Lawlessness was rife and taxation burdensome. Henry later proved to be feckless and simple-minded, subjected to spells of madness and dominated by his ambitious queen, Margaret of Anjou, whose party had allowed the English position in France to deteriorate. Between 1450 and 1460, Richard III, Duke of York, became the head of the Great Barnell League, of which the foremost members were his kinsmen, the Nevilles and the Morbys, and the Bitchutes. Among his principal lieutenants was his nephew Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick, a powerful man in his own right, who had hundreds of adherents among the gentry seated over 20 countries. In 1453, when Henry lapsed into insanity, a powerful baronial clique backed Warwick, installed York as the protector of the realm. When Henry was recovered in 1455, he re-established the authority of Margaret's party, forcing York to take up arms for self-protection. The first battle of the war at St. Albans on May 22nd, 1455, resulted in a Yorkist victory and 4 years of uneasy truce. Right, so I'm going to do a little bit of commentary. So basically, what happens is you've got two families that are fighting over the crown, and they're getting their serfs and forming the private armies to force the other one at the point of a sword. Hank, evening, glad to have you here. Puffermust, oh thou bloody prison. That sounds quite profound, Hank. I have no idea what it actually means. Would you mind sort of sticking in the chat what that actually means for me, or where it comes from, because new information is always good. Oh, seems I made a mistake. Aunt Sally's not going to bed; she's having a splash in the bath. I'm dyslexic. I read the roar of the roar of the Moses. Being also dyslexic, uh, I feel your pain. For many, many years, I would instantly see like as lick and vice versa. Uh, which isn't so bad whenever you're talking about ice cream, because I like ice cream and I like ice cream's the same. But if you're talking about a window, I like that. I Or writing about a window, I like that window. And it comes out as your window licker. It's not so good. Uh, but there we go. We do our best. A new phase of the Civil War began in 1459 when York goaded the Queen's on the sky's preparations to attack him. Rebelled for the last time, the Yorkists were successful at Boar Heath September 23rd, but were scattered after a skirmish at Lulford Bridge October the 12th. York fled to Ireland, as most of these fucking people do, and the Lancasterians and a packed parliament at Coventry in November 1459 obtained a judicial condemnation of their opponents and executed those on whom they could lay hands. So there was a bit of chopping off of heads went on there. From then on, the struggle was bitter. Both parties laid aside their scruples and struck down their opponents without mercy. The cold-blooded and calculated ferocity that now entered English political life certainly owed something to the political ideas of the Italian Renaissance. Put my teeth back in. Renaissance. But arguably, it was also in part legacy of the lawless habits acquired by the nobility during the Hundred Years' War. In France, Warwick regrouped the Yorkist forces and returned to England in June 1460, decisively defeated the Lancastrian forces at Northampton on July 10th. York tried to claim the throne, but settled for the right to succeed upon the death of Henry. That effectively disinherited Henry's son, Prince Edward, and caused Queen Margaret to continue her opposition. Right. So this is different family members fighting over who's going to be the heir to the throne. We wouldn't have that at all today, anything similar. No, definitely not. Gathering forces in northern England, the Lancastrians surprised and killed York at Wakefield in December, and then marched south towards London, defeating Warwick on the way at the Second Battle of St Albans, February 17th, 1461. Meanwhile, York's eldest son and heir, Edward, had defeated a Lancastrian force at Mortimer's Cross on February 2nd and marched to relieve London, arriving before Margaret on February 26th. The young Duke of York was proclaimed King Edward IV at Westminster on March the 4th. This is where we started bringing this into March. But okay. Then Edward, with the remainder of Warwick's forces, pursued Margaret north to Towton. There, in the bloodiest battle of the war, the Yorkists won a complete victory. Henry, Margaret, and their sons fled to Scotland. The first phase of the fighting was over, except for the reduction of a few pockets of Lancasterian resistance. Just want to check the chat, and that's the 11 o'clock alarm. Emma G. Hank's in the cakes. The cakes. Right, sorry, I'm just. Right. Thank you very much, mate. It's about Richard II's imprisonment at Pontefract Castle. Sansom, nah, I know all about the War of the Roses. Every Christmas I make sure to get the dairy milk and toffee caramels, and don't get me started on the green triangles in Quality Street. I thought they took those green triangles out. Ah, that was a bit of Shakespeare. Excellent. Thank you very much, Hank. I would love to know how communication worked for organising these conflicts. Bills posted, public speeches. You'll find a lot of it was done with meetings in secret and then probably carrier pigeons to different people and small local bands getting together. Or in the case of the private armies, the leaders of the army just tell the plebs you're marching this direction or not. Right, that's me caught up. Steve Cray's buffering. Yes, get him first, Sansom. He burned the cakes. Ooh, it's not good. Don't want burnt cakes. Right, here we go. Cracking on. The ascendancy of work. The next round of the wars arose out of disputes within the Yorkist ranks. Warwick, the statesman of the group, was a true architect of the Yorkist triumph. Until 1446, he was the real ruler of the kingdom. He ruthlessly put down the survivors of the Lancastrians, who, under the influence of Margaret and with French help, kept the war going in the north and in Wales. The wholesale executions that followed the Battle of Hexham in May 1446 practically destroyed what was left of the Lancastrian party, and the work seem complete when a year later Henry the Sixth was captured and put in the Tower of London. Warwick made an equally vigorous effort to put the government of the realm in better shape, to restore public order, to improve the admission of justice, and by confiscation of economies to make the crown solvent. At the same time, both Warwick and his master were caught in a diplomatic schemes of the astute Louis the 11th. I'm going to guess that is. It's XN Roman numerals. I'm not brilliant with Roman numerals. Uh, and who succeeded Charles the 7th as the King of France in 1461. He was still preoccupied with the power of Burgundy, and the English were to be the pawns of the game intended to play for the humbling of Charles the Bold. Yet, Edward the Fourth was not prepared to submit indefinitely to works duty, efficient and satisfactory though it proved to be. It was not that he deliberately tried to oust Warwick, rather he found the Earl's power irksome. Edward hastily and secret marriage to Edward's hasty and secret marriage to Elizabeth Woodville in 1446 was the first sign of his impotence. The Woodvilles, a family with strong Lancastrian connections, never achieved real political influence, but they climbed into positions of trust near the king, thus estranging Warwick still further. The open breach between the king and the earl came in 1467 when Edward dismissed Warwick's brother, George Neville. The the Chancellor repudiated the treaty with Louis the XI that the Earl had just negotiated and concluded an alliance with Burgundy against which Warwick had always protested. Warwick then began to organise opposition to the king. He was behind the armed protest of the gentry and commons of Yorkshire that was called the Rising of Robin of Reesdale. I'm wondering if that Robin got anything to do with the Hood of April 1469. A few weeks later, having raised a force at Calais and married his daughter Isabel without the permission of Edward's rebellious brother, George Pantington, Duke of Clarence, Warwick landed in Kent. The Royal Army was defeated in July at Edgecote near Banbury, and the king himself became the Earl's prisoner, while the Queen's father and brother, together with a number of their friends, were executed at his command. A lot of executions in this. So that, oh, hold on, no, there's more. By March 1470, however, Edward had regained his control, forcing Warwick and Clarence to flee to France, where they allied themselves with Louis XI and, probably at Louis's instigation, came to terms with their former enemy Margaret. Returning to England in September 1470, they deposed Edward and restored the crown to Henry VI. For the for 6 months, Warwick ruled as Henry's lieutenant. Edward fled to the Netherlands with his followers. Right, I'm just going to check the chat. Oh, Toffee, did you just time it? Edmund, did you? Edmund, if you hear, Toffee has timed you out by mistake. He's got those Scouse thick fingers. Is this his couple of beers coming into play? Yes, I agree with Steve. You're not. Right. Yes, I figured that one out. X is 10, and if the one was after the X, then it means 11, or if it's before it, it would mean 9. We're getting there with the Roman numerals. But thanks for thanks for confirming it, Exile. Right, yes. We're up to date. Edmund Toffee saying he's sorry and it was accidental. You'll be back on a mo. Panic not. Warwick's power was insecure, however, for the Lancastrians found it difficult to trust one who had so lately been their scourge. While many of the Earl Yorkist followers found the change more than they could bear, there was thus little real opposition to Edward, who, having secured the Bundarian aid, returned from flushing the land at Raveshire on March 1471 in a manner reminiscent of Henry IV. His forces met those of Warwick on April 14th in the Battle of Barnet, in which Edward outmaneuvered Warwick, regained the loyalty of the Duke of Clarence, and decisively defeated Warwick, who was slain in the battle. He'll not be causing any more problems. On the same day, Margaret and her son, who hitherto refused to return to France, landed at Weymouth. Hearing the news of Barnet, she marched west, trying to reach the safety of Wales, but Edward won the race to the Severn. In the Battle of Tewkesbury, May the 4th, Margaret was captured and her forces destroyed and her son killed. Shortly afterward, Henry VI was murdered in the Tower of London. Margaret remained in custody until being ransomed by Louis XI in 1475. Edward's throne was secure for the rest of his life. He died in 1483. In 1483, Edward's brother, Richard III, overriding the claims of his nephew, the young Edward V, alienated by many Yorkists, who then turned to the last hope of the Lancastrians, Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, with the help of the French and the Yorkist defectors. Henry defeated and killed Richard at Bosman Field on August 22nd, 1845, bringing the wars to a close. By his marriage to Edward IV's daughter, Elizabeth of York, in 1486, Henry united the Yorkist and Lancastrian claims. Henry defeated the Yorkist rising supporting the pretender Lambert Simnel on June 16th, 1487, a date which some historians prefer over the traditional 1485 for the termination of the wars. And that is your overview of the War of the Roses. The for anybody that wants to pick over it, have a longer read and whatnot, the link for all my sources are in the description. So that's that bit. Edmund, Edmund. If you get timed out again, you're going to watch match of the day. Toffee, careful with those thumbs, mate. We're going to lose somebody. Oh, 1 second. I need to cough. You're going to have to be referred to by the Roman numerals XL11 for the remainder of this chat. Oh, I'd never actually thought about doing that. Steve Cray's being all philosophical. If I handed him my spanner every time I made a mistake, I'd never be a mod. Do you know what happened to the man that never made a mistake? He never made anything. Things happen, Toffee, don't worry, but we will give you a bit of banter about it. Well, okay, welcome aboard. And we're still holding at 26. Even with all this madness, we're doing good. We're doing good, I tell you, people. So that was your War of the Roses. King Edward IV, who got who became king during all of that madness. We'll have a little quick look at him. And here we go. Another question I have about all this is how I never learned any of this stuff at school. Yeah, Toffee, I can assure you, nobody wants to hear that through the mic. It's not good. Dead lovers. Richard the Third. People. Right. I think I'm going to bring this in just a little. There's not a lot in this, I think. Actually, that is too large. Right. There's a photograph of him. Edward IV, also called until 1845 Earl of March, born April 28th, 1442. King of England from 1461 until October 1470, and again in April 1471 until his death in 1483. He was a leading participant in the Yorkist-Lancastrian conflict known as the War of the Roses. Edward was the eldest surviving son of Richard, Duke of York, by Clary, daughter of Ralph Neville, Earl of Watermont. His father was descended from two sons of the 14th century King Edward III, and in the 1450s led a revolt against Henry VI. In 1460, Richard's supporters declared him Henry's successor. When his father was killed in December of that year, Edward gathered an army in Wales to defeat Henry's supporters, called the Lancastrians, because of Henry's descent from John of Gaunt and Duke of Lancaster. Edward was crowned King Edward in London on June 28th, 1461. Edward at this time showed little promise. He owed the throne largely to his cousin Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick, who was in the first years of Edward's reign the most powerful man in England. Warwick crushed Lancastrian resistance in the far north of England between 1462 and 1464 and conquered England's diplomacy. Edward, however, was winning many friends, especially in London, by his comeliness and charm, and was determined to assert his independence. On 1st of May 1464, he secretly married young widow Elizabeth Woodville, of no great rank, offending Warwick and other Yorkist nobles who were plotting to marry him and a French princess by showering favours on Elizabeth's two sons and her first husband on, on her five brothers and seven sisters. Edward began to build up a group of magnates who would be a counterpose to the Neville's. Gradually, Warwick lost all influence in court, and when he was negotiating an alliance with France, Edward humiliated him by revealing that he already concluded an alliance in 1467 with France's enemy, Burgundy. Edward's sister, Margaret, was married in July 1468 with a great pomp to Duke Charles of Bold of Burgundy, and the brothers-in-law planned a joint invasion of France. Warwick, in a counter move encouraged by Louis XI of France, seized Edward and made him a prisoner in July 1469. But Edward had by now too many supporters, especially in London, for him to keep on to the tutelage for long. He regained his freedom in October. Warwick fled to France, allied himself with the Lancastrians and with Louis, and invaded England in September 1470. Surprised, Edward fled with a few faithful supporters to the Netherlands in October, allied by Charles of Burgundy. He and his brother Richard, Duke of Gloucester, returned to England in March 1471, taking London. He defeated and killed Warwick at Barnet on April the 14th. On the same day, Queen Margaret, Henry VI's wife, belatedly landed in Dorset in France with her only son, Edward, Prince of Wales. Her advisors hoped to gain Lancastrian support in Wales. It became a race for time between Edward the Fourth's forces and hers to whether she could get there before he overtook her. At Tewkesbury, after some remarkable forced marches, one more than 40 miles at a stretch, he caught up with the army on 4th of May and won another crushing victory. Nearly all remaining Lancastrian leaders were killed in the field, executed afterwards. This is really just going over what we said before. I'm going to skip the second reign. Right, here we go. The last decade of Edward's reign also saw improvement of law enforcement. One especially disturbed area was Wales and the Welsh marches. Edward used royal estates as their foundation on which to base a council that acted in the name of his infant heir, the Prince of Wales, and employed the royal prerogative to make a start in repressing disorder. It was the forerunner of the Council of Wales and the marches that subjugated the area of English rule. So this is the start of Wales becoming a thing. Of a standalone nation as opposed to a small part of England, which some might say it actually still is. Modern research has emphasised these administrative achievements of Edward IV, and the contemporary of his Tudor historians viewed this later years as a time of prosperity and success. He rebuilt St George's Chapel, Windsor, and collected illuminated Flemish manuscripts. He was also a friend of and patron of painter William Coxon, and his book collection became the foundation of the Old Royal Library, later one of the glories of the British Museum. Edward's promiscuity enabled Richard of Gloucester, after his death, to question the validity of his marriage and so to ruin his sons. As a young man, Edward had been trustful and open-handed, but his experience made him increasingly suspicious, leading him in 1478 to execute his brother George, Duke of Clarence, who in former years had sided with Warwick against him. In 1842, Louis XI, in order to come to terms with the rulers of Burgundy, tactically repudiated the Treaty of Picquarny and the annual tribute that it provided. Edward contemplated a fresh invasion of France, but before it could be carried out, he fell ill and died at the age of only 40. By Elizabeth Woodville, he had 7 children who survived him, 2 sons. After Edward V, and Richard, Duke of York, who were probably murdered in the Tower of London in August 1483, and 5 daughters, of whom the eldest, Elizabeth, married King Henry the Seventh. There you go. So that's a little bit about Edward the Fourth. And now, Andy Bershaw, welcome, chum. Field Marshal Browning, glad to have you aboard from down under. I'm not quite sure what Toffee is having a Toffee's having a little bit of a rant there. I'm not quite sure what it's about, so we're not going to put it up on the screen. Richard III coins are worth a mint. Haha. Yeah, you must have missed last July's, because we did the Williamite Wars last year, and we're going to talk a little bit about William III. But yes, there is a Battle of the Boyne string that you can find, which obviously I'm quite pleased about the outcome of. I'm not having a rant, I'm just saying you myth. I'm confused, Toffee. Actually, I just want to check out later. Packers in the house. Yep, are you Packer 07? What about you, Sean? Yep, Packers just back from the pub. Yes, a little bit about King William III. It's the anniversary of his death recently, like within a few days. So we're going to do a little bit about that. Right. I do assuming that in. We will share this. Share screen. And this is coming from Westminster Abbey. That's looking small. Still looking small. William III. William was the only child of William II, Prince of Orange, and Princess Mary, eldest daughter of Charles I of England. He was born at The Hague in Holland on the 4th of November 1650. 60, 70, 80, 90. So he was 40 at the Battle of the Boyne. A few days after his father's death, the English authorities did not want any son of the Roman Catholic James II to become king. So in 1688, they called on William to come to England and march against James and take the throne and reign jointly with Mary. However, before William reached London, James has fled to France. Is this where I say, run away, the dirty rebel bastard ran away? No, sorry, I'm not supposed to sing those songs. Yep, so James ran away to France. and his abdication was declared. The king was the king was popular with Irish Protestants following his victory at the Battle of the Boyne, but he was never well liked in England. Newsflash: the Battle of the Boyne was not the one that the Protestants traditionally celebrate. It was actually Aughern. Was the one on 12th of July, which happened the following year. But then the calendar moved by like 12 days, and the Battle of Boyne was placed on went from the 1st of July to the 12th of July. And because the Protestants were already celebrating the Battle of Aughern every 12th of July, they just kept the date the same and changed the battle which they celebrated. Where was I? But he was never well liked in England, apparently, allegedly. The Act of Succession passed during this reign, ensuring not only Protestants would succeed to the throne. He was devastated when Mary died in 1694. On the 4th of November 1677, he married his cousin, the 15-year-old Protestant Princess Mary, daughter of James II, and his first wife, Anne Hyde, at St James's Palace in London, where they returned to live in Holland. First daughter of James II and James II's first wife, Anne Hyde. William III and Mary II were crowned as joint monarchs in the Abbey on 11th of April 1689, the first time this had happened in England. He used the ancient coronation chair during the ceremony, and another chair was specially made for Mary to sit on. There were no children, and the throne passed to Mary, the sister of Anne. His death on the 8th of March 1702 was caused by a fall from a horse which had stepped on a molehill. The little gentleman in black velvet, the mole, was therefore praised by his enemies. In contrast to his wife's funeral, his was private and simple, at the monarch's own request, but there was a long carriage procession from Kensington Palace. William was buried with his wife in a vault beneath the south aisle of Henry VII's Ladies' Chapel, not far from his mother's grave. Although a monument was designed for the couple, it was never erected. In 1725, the Abbey acquired life-size wax effigies of the King and Queen, possibly modelled by Mrs. Goldsmith. That to William is a remarkable portrait. The effigies of William and Mary are on show in the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Galleries, as is Mary II's coronation chair. So that's a little bit about the death of King William of Orange. Just want to check the chat. And I think we're due a little bit of a strange intermission. Was also quite normal at that age. They melted down the cannons of Derry to pay the troops. It's called gun money. I didn't know that, Raymond. That's quite interesting. Right. Yes. There we go. Time for a bit of a strange intermission. So we've got a dude on a roller coaster. Here you go. You can have a guess in the chat what way this dude would be going on a roller coaster for our strange and unusual sports. How would he be attempting this roller coaster? Any ideas? It's whenever you see it, it's bloody obvious. Like, Here we go. Yep. Here we go. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Surfing, no. Holding his teeth, no. Good guesses, but no. I mean, whenever you look at it, it's obvious. Like the the most normal thing in the world. Uh, let's see. We'll start this off.
2 years of hard planning, months of training. If he makes it, it'll all be over in 60 seconds. If he doesn't, it'll be over in a heartbeat.
Did anybody have on roller skates in there? No, not in drag. Did anybody have on roller skates in their bingo card? Holding on with his eyelids. Yeah, no. No, nobody got that one. Here we go.
Dirk's crew has second thoughts.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I feel a little bit afraid. I hope it's working.
Dirk has come too far to back out now. It's go time. He's made the first hill into the first dangerous turn.
When you go in the first turn, you feel this G. It's hard.
He's fighting the G-forces from flinging him into the old timbers. With each hill, the speed builds.
56 miles an hour.
With each turn, the punishing Gs get harder to fight. Just under a minute after it started, Dirk can see the finish line.
My heart was pumping hard.
Adrenaline takes over, and the radical blader rumbles into the record books.
That bloke's a nutter. Yes, there you go. As we say in Australia. Yeah, I know. I like the bit where say adrenaline takes over. I think once he'd started, he had no choice about going to the end. Well, possibly there was an option of flinging out of his shoes and into the side rails and dying, but yeah. Yeah. Cripes. No good farting his brakes. Fair play. Yeah. Definitely fair play to him. Yeah. I don't think trying to actually balance and keep them on that wee fucking narrow rim at the same time would be yeah. Modern illegal. Yeah. As we he went to the top at roller coaster, but I don't think as we lifts going to the top floor. Let's see, where are we? We're an hour in. Yes, that's the same way the carriages are capped on. I remember when Fabio went on a roller coaster and a seagull flew into his face. We're a small brain. It was at this point that Dirk revealed to his team that his dodgy knee was playing up. Right. I'm sorry if anybody heard a bit of coughing and spluttering there. It seems my dodgy throat's playing up, but there you go. Right. What I'm going to talk about now is match of the day. Gary Lineker and all of this stuff. It is my considered opinion that Gary Lineker has every right, the exact same rights of free speech as anyone else in this country. And he is free to have whatever opinions he wants. However, Gary Lineker also has a very well played job as not just a pundit with the BBC, but he could be classed as a brand ambassador. He is also a brand ambassador for Walker's Crisps. Now, his brand ambassador for Walker's Crisps is a little less problematic than the one for the BBC, because the BBC has an absolute duty to remain impartial on political matters. Now, what this incident has shown is that Gary Lineker has a very, very low view opinion of the British government, which is fine. Apart from he works, he's an important role for the BBC. Also, a lot of the other sports pundits who are employed to talk about sports have went on strike with in solidarity with him. I would raise a question as to whether or not those people are union members, whether or not there was a proper vote, and whether or not their strike action is indeed legal. Because to be blunt about the thing, as a union member, we could not manage to get a strike organised and passed and put through in this time. Therefore, I think they all could be in breach of contract. And the other thing it has done, it has proven that there is a left-wing bias within the BBC that spreads outside of its political commentary, outside of its news commentary, and into the sports commentary. And since this left-wing anti-government narrative is so persuasive, I think that the BBC should be either have their charter removed and work as a private company, and therefore give whatever political opinions and views they want, and they should definitely be defunded and have the license fees done away with, and they can work away whatever way they want. So that's my opinion on Gary Lineker. I was quite surprised that Alan Shearer and Ian Wright, who prior to today, I had no idea what their political leanings are. To be fair, I haven't heard them say what their political opinions are, only that they are stepping aside in solidarity with Gary Lineker. However, I find it hard to believe that they would have done so had they not had the same political opinions. And I think it's long past time that the BBC was defunded. Willie says, to me, the Tories may as well be left wing as well. I will totally agree with you. We do not have a proper right wing political party in this country. The Conservatives conserve absolutely fuck off. They do not believe in right wing traditional right wing values, which would be small government, minimal government interference, laissez-faire economies, and business getting on with things and government getting out of the way. The government should be, in a perspective on the right, the government should be as small as humanly possible, getting involved only in the provision for roads, public safety, and public order. And outside of that, the government should be doing absolutely fuck all. I would definitely also scale back drastically the education system and get it back to reading, writing, and arithmetic, and take all the other bullshit out. So that's a bit of that rant. And Opinion Scotsman has put this forward. Matt Letizia was sacked a few years ago on Sky Sports for his opinions on BLM and COVID, and no one said a thing. This is exactly true. Matt Letizia was cajoled into wearing a BLM badge on Sky Sports, did it not knowing exactly what it meant, and then whenever he looked into it, became opinionated, decided not to do it, and Sky decided that they were not going to renew his contract. What's he a brand ambassador for? Crisps. The talented BTS are brand ambassadors for noodles, and they have the most expensive legs in the world. I would also say he's a brand ambassador for the BBC. He is the face of BBC Sport, or definitely BBC Football. His level of influence and whatnot is extreme, and they need to get rid of him, like, forever. And they need to make it clear to their sports presenters that they need to stay out of politics, or if they wish to do so, they need to leave their job. There is nothing stopping Gary Lineker ceasing work for the BBC, go off work in Japan, do whatever the fuck he wants, and then he can be as political as he wants. The problem is he's trying to do both things, and that does not work. I just want to check through the comments. Yeah, it does sound like a right hoot. I might actually have a look at that. Yes, it is, but it's not supposed to be. And I shall be writing to my Member of Parliament. I suggest you all write to your Member of Parliament and tell your Member of Parliament that you believe the BBC licence fee should be scrapped because the BBC has found itself incapable of being politically neutral. Andy Belcher, the test is a legend. Jug-eared commentator, a complete twat. I can agree with that. So there you are. Oh, hold on. Right. Give me a moment. Steve Cray, is that the seagull? Is that the seagull one? 1 second, people. Fuck, I muted myself earlier. I need to mute myself for a minute. I think we've got another video going to be coming up. I've just found right. I am back, and I found out that that was not. Oh, holy fuck! I have all sorts of boomer stuff going on there. That was not right. Sorry, people. That was actually uh, that was a bollocks, right? Okay, we're just going to do a little search. We're going to look up this. Here we go. Right, we're all over it. Here we go. I'm hoping this is good. Share screen. Share screen. All right, come on, let's get to it, people. We did not get the impact. I'm going to take it back to there. We'll watch this again. Can we spot the impact, people?
I'm here today just to say, it's like it was a miracle, but it wasn't a freak accident, and it's going to happen again. And I cannot live with my conscience know that the ride is still running, and maybe a person or even a child can be killed.
I don't think a goose done well. I don't think a goose did too well like that. Give that seagull a whole bag of chips. That was a cracking ride. Oh, I love it. Yes, that goose was cooked. All the best gammon sandwich. Right. Now, what are we going to talk about now? I have some other little things that I wanted to have a little bit of chat about. If I just find my links. Uh-huh. Right. Hold on. Right. Get this up. Right. Sorry, just getting the zoom correct. Get this out. back to StreamYard and share this screen. Dangerously low UK ammunition stocks put Ukraine's resupply at risk. Now, call me old fashioned, call me a fool, but I think if we're running low on ammunition, it puts the UK's defence at risk. It should put the UK's defence at risk. It should not put Ukraine's resupply at risk, because there are some things where you need to get your own house in order before you help others, and one of them is fucking ammunition for artillery. Ah, fuck off. Bollocks. Start the free trial. Is this going to... Yeah, no, fuck that shit. Right. Sorry, right, I'm just going to do another search. I can't watch those people climb up buildings with no ropes and all that crap, because I just sit there thinking you're going to die, you fucking lunatic. Jill, thanks for dropping in. Thanks, mate. And all the best, and have a good sleep. John's off the bed as well. All the best, mate. John, if you're still here, I'm currently on night shift, so that's why I'm not seeing any midweek streams in the evenings. 1 second. I'm just going to search this. When's this one? Right. I just want to say a couple of things about the current shit show in the British Army. Hold on, that's too zoomed in. Zoom that out one. StreamYard and present. Here we go. UK tanks shortage to last another 4 years as under 100 Challenger 2s are considered to be battle ready. Fewer than 100 of the UK's 227 Challenger 2s are considered battle ready. Last night, MPs attacked the lack of urgency surrounding the UK's tank stocks, and there are also plans to repair scores of Challenger 2s as an interim measure. See, here's a small problem. Minor problem. They stopped making Challenger 2s in the 90s. They closed the production line down, and they no longer make spare parts. So of the 550 odds that we started off with, the only source of spare parts to get other ones going is off Challenger 2s that are out of use. So that number is just going to keep going down and down and down. Britain faces at least another 4 years of tank shortages after officials ruled out repairing older vehicles to meet the threats of Vladimir Putin. Of the UK fleets of 227 Challenger 2 tanks, fewer than 100 are considered battle ready, and 14 of these have been gifted to the Ukraine. Last night, MPs attacked the lack of urgency surrounding UK's tank stocks, with no improvement likely before 2027. That is when the first batch of tanks, which will replace the aging Challenger 2s, enter service. But I'm led to believe that what's entering service after the Challenger 2 is a Challenger 3. And in order to create a Challenger 3, they don't start from scratch. They take a dead Challenger 2 and they refab it. They're going to change the gun to one that is smoothbore as opposed to the current barrel. What do you call it? Whenever the rifled one, and better aiming devices and whatnot. So, but there are no plans to repair scores of Challenger 2s as an interim measure. Armed Forces Minister Mark Francis told the Mail. You cannot deter Putin if you can't even get out of the tank park. We need to stop contemplating our navals and bring most of the Challenger 2s up to high readiness in months. Do you know what? You get that whole 227 of them working fine. That's not going to work against a proper army. Now, since even the Second Gulf War, we have not fought any proper armies. The West has not fought any proper armies, and we have got used to fighting against people that don't have an air force, don't have artillery, don't have any professional soldiers, and they run about planting bombs. Now, that's okay until you come up against a proper army. The Challenger 3 will not be available until 2027. With a war underway in Ukraine, not our war, we cannot possibly wait that long. The upgraded Challenger 3 should deliver significantly higher performance than its predecessor that will pair the hull of a Challenger 2 with a newly designed turret and main gun. Just how many Challenger 3s will be introduced is currently the subject of the Ministry of Defence's review. Doesn't help that you can't get fucking spare parts for the Challenger 3s, because a lot of it's off the chassis of the Challenger 2, which you cannot get parts for. Yesterday, officials gave their strongest hint yet that the current order of 148 will be increased. See, this number is going to go down every time because you're using the shell of what you have left to create the new ones. The conflict in return has turned conventional wisdom about the obsolescence of the tank on its head. Nobody with a right mind thought that the tank was obsolete. Anybody that was the only people that thought the tank was obsolete was people that have been fooled by never fighting a proper army in 30 fucking years. Yesterday, officials gave their strongest hint yet that the current order of for decades, the MOD has slashed tanks numbers from 1,200 in 1990 to 227 in 2023, in favour of lighter, more mobile vehicles suited to expeditionary warfare. Now tanks are again considered an essential weapon on a ground conflict. Britain's shrinking tank fleet was discussed yesterday by the Commons Defence Select Committee as part of a review of the equipment and weapons stocks. Officials refused to disclose precisely how many Challenger 2s are currently battle ready, claiming that the figure was sensitive to national security. No shit. But Lieutenant Rob McGann, the Deputy Chief of Defence Staff, denied reports that the 14 tanks gifted to Ukraine represented 25 to 30% of operational assets. Officials revealed high inflation figures were reducing the MOD's spending capacity on new equipment. The MOD's record of producing new equipment and weaponry also came under fire. It emerged that just 3 of our 52 major projects are graded as green, which means they are on schedule and on budget. Last night, MOD said, "We have been clear on the need for a threat-led approach, and as laid out by the Defence Secretary, we will review the number of Challenger 3 tanks to consider whether the lessons of Ukraine suggest we need a larger fleet." In 2021, Integrated Review reinforced plans to upgrade our main battle tanks to ensure Challenger 3 will become one of the most protected and most lethal in Europe. See, in order for a tank to be lethal, you've got to actually have it. You have got to actually have it, and we don't. This is fucking ridiculous. Yeah, if we stop playing for hotels, they'd be able to afford brand new tanks. Yeah, but here's the thing: you order up some nice new tanks. There's going to be at least a 4-year lead time on that. It's going to take it's whatever we decide now is going to be 5 years before it's implemented. We've always loved inviting ourselves into other people's wars. We should be building up our own defences and our own use instead of giving everything to a puppet president who loves the limelight. I totally agree. Here's the other thing. Unfortunately, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not. The other thing is, strangely enough, a tank's not very good without shells. Exactly, Roy. Now, in other news, I seen a report in the New York Times, which, by all accounts, seems to be very reliable. The United States, at the beginning of this war, started to increase their production of 155mm artillery shells, which is the stock and trade. That's what they're firing back and forward. And at the start of this war, oh, you have no idea how dry we're being played. You have no idea. So at the beginning of this war, America was producing round about 10,000 155mm shells per month. They have, actually, I think it was closer to 13. And they decided to up their production due to the war in Ukraine in order to give Ukrainian shells. And after great effort over the course of a year, they've managed to increase it to somewhere in around 15,000. In 2 years, they hope they've got that to 20,000 155mm shells per month. And in 10 years, they reckon they can get that. They can get up to 100,000 per month. Now, we have been told since Ukraine began that Russia is running out of shells, that everything will be fine whenever that happens, or your economy's collapsing. Ukraine, on an average day, bear in mind, America is a couple of years away from producing 20,000 shells a month. every day in Ukraine, Russia has been sending over 20,155 millimeter shells and exploding them on the Ukrainians. Sometimes on Great Strife, they up that to 40,000. And that's just what they do. That's just their shell usage. They've been resupplying that for over a year. It's believed that Russia's got another 2 years worth of that. And the British government recently came out and said that it would we have around about a day's worth of artillery shells and a day's worth of tank shells, and it's going to take approximately 10 years to get everything, get our stocks back to where they should be and where they were before the start of this conflict, and we started giving away all of our shit, which doesn't bode well for Ukraine. And it has also drastically weakened the West's position on absolutely everything, because whenever the absence of shells hits a battlefield, which it already has, but it's going to become very drastic, and Russia has the combined West have been, 1 second. Oh, sorry, people. That was a bit of a bad coughing fit. The combined West have run dry of all sorts of shells. And Russia has not. So can't we buy shells from Russia? They seem to have shitloads. See, well, here's the thing. I don't think they want to sell us any shells. And I think they're getting ready to not sell us any gas or any oil either. And now we're talking about putting sanctions on China, which I don't think is going to work well, because that's where we get all of our shit. Yep. Well, this is what we do with everything else. If we want something, we put in an order to China. And that has had a bit of a catastrophic effect to our manufacturing capabilities. And this whole shit show is just about done. I thought they'd have invented AI killer drone bots by now. Well, it turns out those sorts of things don't actually work. No matter how much investment and how much you do, you still need some guy with a knife on the end of a rifle to go and winkle the other guy out of his trench. And yeah, it's just not good. By the way, there is the link in the chat for anybody who wants to come in. I'm going to talk for a little bit longer, probably 20 minutes max, just to let you know. Well, here's an interesting thing. Hold on. I've caught up with this late. Each shit on behalf of Everton and FC 42. Did the Toffees actually win a football match? Did the Toffee? Did that wee team actually win a football match? Did they? Oh, and what's the thoughts in Liverpool about Everton moving their stadium? Are the please well or not? Where was I? Very interesting thing, actually. Whenever Russian uh, build their shell factories, they build them three sizes that they actually need, and they put in three times the equipment that they actually need, and they run in normal time a third of it, and they get people trained up to come in whenever they need them to run the other two thirds. Now, if you're in the West and you're in the business of making money, that's a shit business plan, because it's not very good at making money. Because anything that you make that you don't need, and every space that you're not using, is a drain on your business. However, if you're not in the business of making money, but you're actually in the business of making shells, and the act of making shells can actually make you money, it's a very good way to run your business. And what has happened is, at the onset of the war, Russia expanded their capacity, which they're geared up and set up to be able to do. And yeah, don't expect Russia to run out of anything any sort of ordnance that they need anytime soon. It's just not going to happen. Uh, and this is something that we are relearning in real time. The West has made all these predictions and assumptions about Russia. They thought that it would fold under the uh, they thought it would fold with the sanctions. They thought they would run out of shells. They have not. Russia's economy is going okay. Uh, they have not. They have not run out of shells. They're still launching 40,000 a day. They one sec. It's what has happened is the collective West has banned Russian media. They have banned every counter story. They have put out a hell of a lot of propaganda and stories about Ukrainian victories that have not happened. They have said that the Ukrainians are doing well. They have said that the Ukrainians are going to not only hold Barakba, but they're going to have a counterattack, and they're going to push the Russians back. A work of fiction and fantasy if ever seen one. And what's going to happen is, and they have, the collective West have told the Russians to brace for a counteroffensive. Really good idea. Just tell the enemy that there's an offensive on their way, and they've been telling them for fucking months that there's going to be a spring offensive. And the Russians have spent months digging tank traps, digging in gun emplacements, putting all sorts of obstacles in the way for any counterattack. And it's just not. Here's Axel Faggy.
Hope you don't mind me coming on for a little while.
Oh, lovely. Glad to have you on.
Great. Oh, is that you playing the music?
No.
Oh, I don't know where it's coming from, but can you hear that? No?
No.
Oh,
Can anybody in the chat hear any music? Where's it coming from?
I don't know. I went on to
Right.
StreamYard and the music started.
Right. Hold on. Right.
That's fine.
Right. Well, there's no music in the chat, so you're just going to have to put up with it, chum.
It's all right. It's actually adds ambience to you speaking about war in Ukraine. It's like a pending doom theme, so I think it fits well.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I was going to give you my opinion. No, I really
Yep.
think we should be just not supplying anybody, but we should be working on our own defenses because we are going to bloody need it. within the next couple of years, I think.
Well, it wouldn't take us to go to war with any industrialized country because we haven't been fighting the battle and we've used up all of our fucking shit.
Exactly.
We're out of all sorts of ammunition shells. We're okay with rifle shells, with rifle rounds, basic rounds and stuff. But
Yeah.
But as for artillery, tank shells, and that sort of stuff, and like in total, the whole of the EU, they wouldn't give out the sum of individual shells, but there was like all types of shells that include 155 millimeter artillery, mortar shells, tank shells, all that. It's something like 1,000 a month.
Yes.
That we produce, and it's not easy to ramp up, particularly with the way Western companies are. Like we don't even produce spurs for a fucking main battle tank. Like,
yeah, and these Challenger tanks they're obsolete, and the thing they want to do is upgrade them to sell them to a banana republic. Essentially, I just think that's preposterous.
No. Here's the thing. Before I actually looked at this, I would have thought whenever Challenger 2s come in, I thought what happened was the Challenger 1 sat there and the Challenger 2s were made from scratch.
Yeah.
Because you would think that. You would think that's how you go about it. But no, they didn't. They took their 550, I believe, Challengers, and they upgraded 200 of them and called them a Challenger 2.
Mhm.
So you've went from 550 to 220.
Yeah.
Right. And the rest of them become your spare parts for these Challenger 2s because we allowed the production line to stop making spare parts.
Yeah.
Now, I'll give you an example. The Polish have got MiG, I think it's MiG 27s aircraft that Soviet era aircraft. They still get parts supplied to them from the Russians.
Mhm.
Right. They still have a line making the spare parts for those because those aircraft are still in service somewhere. Russians aren't using them, but the Polish are, and they've got a contract with them, and they so if the Polish need spare parts, they get the Russians service them, the Russians put the spare parts on. With our Challengers, we made no such requirement. That's the basic spare parts be kept on shelf for the lifetime of the vehicle. It's fucking ridiculous.
It really is. It just makes no logical sense to anybody, but somehow to a bureaucrat, it makes perfect sense. But I just still say we really should not be having anything to do with this bloody conflict because the overspill is going to affect us in the long run, and it already is in some ways.
Well, we're part of the reason why there is a war. Let's be clear about this.
Oh, I know.
The British government, the American government, got their noses in, told Zelensky to attack, told Zelensky was not allowed to make a peace deal in the initial stages, and have said, "Don't worry, you keep fighting. We'll just keep we'll keep sending you stuff." Didn't the US government order 600 million or 6 billion worth of tanks for Afghan war, then realized they were no use in that mountainous terrain? Then they were put in the storage, probably rusted the scrap. No, they'll not have been rusted to scrap, but they'll have been sold on and used in some way, shape, or form. There's a and 600 million on tanks is a very small amount of tanks. Like they're probably 40 million a pop.
Yeah, it's not only tanks. The Americans left plenty of other things for the Taliban to play around with. So I just feel that America is the one that's orchestrated all the Ukraine, because they, being the leaders of the free world, supposedly, we all have to do what they tell us, because essentially we're under occupation in the name of NATO. So,
Well,
but yeah,
well, here's the thing. Whenever Barack Obama was president, he caused the overthrowing of the Ukrainian government, had Zelensky put in to do his
that's right.
bidding. And Hillary Clinton, in her campaign, where she lost to Donald Trump, was saying, we will have a war with Russia. And then Biden came back in, and that plan went back into action. This would have happened a while ago had it not been for Mr. Trump.
Well, that's very true, 42. If Trump was still sitting in the White House, this war would not have happened. I'm certain of that, because while he was in power, Mr. Putin didn't actually do anything. I believe he waited till the weakling Bungalow Biden came in, and because he saw him as he is, a pushover, where Trump was not exactly a pushover. Okay, he was a bit of a clown, said some interesting things, but he was a man that a lot of the leaders actually respected, and you saw that.
No, but there's more to it than that.
Oh,
Trump,
no, there always is.
right? Trump was stopping the eastern expansion of NATO.
Mm-hmm.
Russia went in because NATO was expanding ever further eastward, and it got to the point where Russia had to do something. Whenever Trump was in, he had told NATO to not get shit in the head, or he was going to bring America out of NATO.
Yeah.
And to stop, and NATO needed to stop warmongering, or he would pull the Americans out. Biden's back in, game's back on, and we have what we have. You know what I mean? Biden hasn't just fucked up America; he's fucked up the whole of the West, and we're now at a point where China and Russia know that there's nothing that the West can do, because apart from a modern air force, Russia faced everything that NATO's got, and in fact, they have ran NATO out of ammunition.
Yes,
and they're still firing their 20,000 shells a day, and Russia's position is a lot stronger. The West's position is a lot weaker. How we get the off ramp for this is very hard to say. And the other thing is, whenever it eventually comes out how many Ukrainian soldiers have died in this conflict, it's going to be bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not giving us the figure, of course, but I reckon it's already ran into the several thousands of dead Ukrainians. Not more.
Right. The figures planted about for Ukraine is 15,000. Currently, Ukrainian casualties are a military secret. They're the only army in the world that has had their casualties be a military secret. And
yeah, that tells you everything, because they don't want you to know.
Well, judging by the amount of soldiers that have been in areas that have been surrounded and trapped and overtaken, and the amount of regiments and battalions they have reconstructed, it's probably between 150 and 200,000 dead. That's my guesstimate, and a bare minimum of 100,000 dead.
Well, I would certainly say the figures that are much higher than what they're officially passing on the media, because it would contradict their narrative that Ukrainians are beating the Russians back.
Yeah,
when we all know it's the other way around. The Russians are strong and ever virtuous, or
yeah.
victorious.
The uh, the Russians have had pretty light casualties. They have a way of fighting whereby they advance with a small amount of foot soldiers. The Ukrainians shoot at them because there's no other choice. Their foot soldiers move back, and then they flatten the place with shells.
Well, that's how it's always gone with the Russians. It's their modus operandi. Yeah.
Julia Skinner, she's 345,000 wounded, 260 dead.
1,000 dead. Yeah, I see that.
I don't know. I think
anyway.
I think it's closer to 200,000 dead, which is 60,000 out from what Julia's saying, but it's not the fucking 15,000 that they're saying us.
Do you know what it is, 42? It's whoever writes the results, they decide the figure is what they want it to be. But they're all basically liars.
Well, sooner or later, the Ukrainians are going to have graveyards.
Oh, yeah, that too. And a shitload of body bags too, if they're not already ordering them from the West.
Right. And Ukrainian families are going to have to be told what happened to their family members. At some stage. Julia Skinner, I've been listening to In the Trenches. She's got a VPN. Yeah, it makes sense. Julia, I wasn't sort of doubting your figures or whatnot. I was just giving one thing, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what it turned out to be.
Yeah. Well, whatever it turns out to be, 42, this is the year I am certain shit is really going to hit the fan, and we're going to be dragged into a worldwide conflict. I know, I'm certain of it. I mean, I just find it's going that way because of all this interfering in someone else's bloody conflict.
No, I think that had things went a little different.
Okay.
Right. You've got your politicians, your civil servants that would love to do it, but they're currently going back to their military, and their military are saying, we don't have the equipment to do this. We don't have the ammunition to do this. We have no way of doing this. And better still, if Ukraine doesn't have a massive turnaround in the spring offensive and be looking like they're actually going to win, which is pretty much impossible by the summer, we're stopping giving out any more of our stuff because it's now making the defense of our country impossible. And I think that after the spring offensive fails, we'll have a lot of people looking for an off ramp, and at that point, they would not like to be President Zelensky. Expect him to leave the country.
Yeah, he'll run like the coward that he is, and he'll seek sanctuary in probably America or Britain, but probably in somewhere as far away from the Ukraine, because they will go for him, and I believe they will do a Ceausescu on him. They will blame him for all sorts, as these people are.
Yeah, Raymond Paper's saying ex-General Scott Ritter confirms the figures. Yeah, it's yeah.
No, I'm just saying, it's just my opinion, but I believe it's going to get far worse before it gets any better. Yeah. Let's just hope that it doesn't become what I have predicted. I hope not.
Yeah, I just wish our government would stay the fuck out of it.
Exactly. That is it. I want our country, all the other countries, in fact, NATO should really just stay out of it, because it's thanks to them that this problem has become the problem that it is, going back 15 years at least. But it seems they just wanted it to come to this, and bang, now we're all stuck in it. But I just say we really need to make our choice. Do we keep our own, or do we go and help these other people? I would say we stay the fuck out of other people's conflicts now and forever.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
honestly think that we need to, uh, and before we do anything else, we need to get our own military back to where it should be. Uh,
Exactly.
like, if you took every member of the regular British Army and put them into Old Trafford, I don't think it'd fill a place anymore.
Oh no, I don't think you would. Probably
Yeah.
half of the stadium at
Well,
best.
well, you're supposedly 70,000 is the figure for the serving regular British Army.
You know?
That that's nothing. That contains engineers, cooks, admin staff, of
Yeah,
which
but if you
there's
but
some
if you only
pay.
but if you only just pick out soldiers, infantrymen, no, you
Yeah,
would be a very
uh,
low figure.
yeah, trigger pullers, line regiments.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, there's not a lot there.
yeah, no. We really cut down our armed forces, and that was a bad mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know when the last time the British Army was a strong, powerful force to be reckoned with. I mean, I always was told as a young boy that British Army is one of the best in the world, next to the Americans. But that may have been the case decades ago. But now we're just an absolute shamble, and now
uh,
with political correctness in its way, it's just even worse. And all the
prob-
nonsense that goes with it.
the probably the Falklands.
Uh,
And and
1982.
bear in mind, see if the Falklands was to happen today, I don't think we could do it.
Uh,
We couldn't do what we did in the Falklands.
okay, yeah.
Uh, it's and even at that, if the Falklands had been 5 years later, we couldn't have done it because we were already cutting down the army pre-Falklands, and that did not slow it down.
Yeah. Well, as you say, that was the highlight, the last few years of the might of the British Army. Yeah. So since then, everything's gone to hell. The only reason I see that Britain has done well in the past is because they had the support of NATO, like Gulf War, Afghanistan. But that's the only thing. If they'd been on their own, they would have been routed many
No,
times over.
no, but hold on. They were fighting people that didn't have stuff.
Yeah, they were
The right,
basically very. No, go
the
ahead.
even in the last Gulf War, there was no question about our superiority.
Mhm.
Any air force that they did have was well below our level. Right. So, and we had more superior tanks, and we had a quantity of tanks then. And since then, we have we have not been fighting a conventional war against a conventional army that's got artillery, that's got tanks, that's got aircraft, that's got helicopters,
Yeah.
and we what we're good for fighting is a bunch of people with no real equipment, and it turns out you can do that pretty easy with very little stuff.
Yeah, well, the basic fighters armed with a basic AK-47, couple of RPGs, and a few mortars. That seems to be it. What we've had
Yeah,
these days. Well, in the
yeah,
vast,
yeah. You can deal with that, but yeah,
yeah, but deal with the Russians. Now you're fighting a serious army. That I feel that would
I,
actually cause a problem for the UK and many other European nations.
I also think a part of the problem is we live in a post-truth era. Right?
Uh,
Consider this. Right? Uh, if a man identifies as a woman, we believe, not we, but the press, the politicians, believes that's a woman. Is
mhm.
that correct? Right?
Yes.
And anybody who puts out a counter narrative is lambasted and has their audience reach curtailed. Agreed?
Yes, I agree.
Right. Okay. And then the politicians go back and read only the stuff that they agree with, and then and that and that sort of propagates forward in the higher levels.
Yes.
Right. We do exactly the same thing with climate change. Right. We select scientists that are similar to the doctors that tell us that a man can be a woman, and they propagate their climate hysteria,
Yeah.
and they shut down the voice of anybody else, and then they use the news clippings of the scientists to say, right, we need to do this about climate.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's always about they always pick people who won't have a dissenting opinion, and it
Right.
will always be parallel to their stupid narrative, which is why you
Right.
never hear much common sense these days.
Right. Well, so from before this conflict started,
Mhm.
our media said that Russia was a petrol station masquerading as a country, that they
Mhm.
didn't have a good stockpile of ammunition, that if they put on the sanctions, their economy would collapse, and that they would run out of shells. Right? And they banned anybody who disagreed with them. They banned the Russian media. The
Yeah.
Toffee,
Yeah.
hold on.
Well, we know why, because
Hold on.
America. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, Toffee just said he wanted the link. It's in the chat there. Right. So they've banned everybody from talking back, and they've went and read the news clippings from their approved people. And now it's coming to the rubber has hit the road, where you've got Ukrainian people that are being hit every day by 20,000 fucking artillery shells that our papers say the Russians don't have.
No, I know. Okay. I know that. Well, the Russians are very capable of keeping this war going for many years, but according to the BBC and the likes, they will have you think, oh, the Russians will be out of shells within a matter of months, which we know is absolute bollocks.
Well, they've been saying that for a year.
Exactly. I've been noticing that, and the Russians are still producing and firing like there's no tomorrow. So
Yeah,
much.
they don't. There's nothing that gives you any sign that they're slowing down.
Yeah.
And they have Toffee. It's saying device is not connected.
Thing is, makes you think. It really does make you think. Why the hell they keep pushing this false narrative? Yeah.
Well, but because they believe their own reporting.
Yeah. I
Right.
guess it's like a lie. If you tell a lie for
Right,
so long, so
one second.
becomes-
Toffee,
All right.
Toffee, jump out and come back in again and see if you can get your devices to connect, mate. Because I can see at the bottom, but it's saying device is not connected.
Yeah. I'm going to be jumping out in a minute soon anyway,
Yeah.
folks, too, but I'll wait till Toffee comes in.
Right. Right. That's him out, and he's probably coming back in again. Spain's running out of water. That's one I haven't heard. I find it strange.
That's the first I've heard of that, but I don't know. I'm skeptical. Yeah. Well, one thing, Scotland ain't running out of any time soon. Water, because we have plenty.
Yeah, I remember wasn't last year, the year before, we had a bit of a hot spell during the summer, and one of our reservoirs was running low. The main one spell got on, but I was up the mountains at the same time, and there's another one at Ben Crum and another one at, sorry, it was Silent Valley was running low. Spell got on was full. Ben Crum was full. They put pictures of the one that was low on the TV and said we're running out of water and announced a hose pipe ban and all this. And I'm saying, what about the other two fucking reservoirs, you bunch of fucking lying bastards?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember that it was in the media about the water levels were running low in Northern Ireland and parts of England.
Yeah, well, the were low in one reservoir, but with another two right beside. Toffee, your devices are still not connected. I'm not sure what's going on. Wiggle your leads and stuff.
I think Toffee's just having a bad day today.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's having one of them thick finger days.
No, I heard that earlier. I was laughing my head off at that comment.
Yep. Yeah.
You really have a way with words, 42.
Well, I try. I do try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toffee, I'll tell you something else, mate. I've got about 10 to 15 minutes at max left in me. So give it a go, see if you can get in. We'll have a quick chat and then I'm going to wrap this up because I can hear my throat going. I've been coughing quite a bit. And
Right.
but I would like to get you on for a few minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm going to jump out now, 42, if you
Right.
don't mind. But thanks for that.
Oh, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just going to say tomorrow I've got up early because I've got to get to that PA protest and I want to get my beauty sleep.
Yes.
So
get yourself off and get yourself some good snoozes.
I'll do that. Anyway, I'll chat to you later. All the best.
All the best, John.
Cheers.
All right, cheer. Sent some communion. We had a local water reservoir that was manned by only Labradors and Springer Spaniels. They were called the Reservoir Dogs. Old school Andy Bell show. I've been fighting this shit since 1979. Old school based. No idea, Toffee. Well, that's not. Do you want that link in again? Right. I'm going to put this link in. See whenever you get on as far as the StreamYard. See as soon as whenever you get as far as StreamYard, check your mic and whatnot and see if it's going to work. And then jump in. Anything else in the comments I need to have a look at? David Dace's river and lake levels are pretty low on wheels for March. You might have a wet summer coming. Yes. Toffee, Sansom's giving you a stick, mate. Sansom's giving you a stick. At least he didn't say, calm down, lad, calm down. Yep. Right. Anybody any questions for me? I'm going to give Toffee about another 2 minutes, and if he's not in, I'm going to wrap this up, and we're going to get a little bit of an outro music ready. What we're going to go with, I know. Let's get that one up. Here we go, and we're back to StreamYard. Toffee, any saying you? Toffee, it's saying device is not connected. It's not working for you tonight, mate. Samsung Communion, where are the 49 steps? I believe the 49 steps are to the bathroom, and they're talked about in a book by an author named Will You Make It? Yep. I'll play you in the advert, Samson. Do you need to come on the share screen or some shit like that? But I'll definitely give you a shout out. The only thing I'll do while I'm writing down, no worries, Toffee. No worries. Fuck me, Samsonite. I can't get that from the fucking from StreamYard chat. Toffee's devices are still not connected. Hold on, I'm going to address this. Did the men and boys' rights get into circumcision? Yes, male genital mutilation is a very big issue in the men's rights issue. in the men's rights movement, male genital mutilation is in most cases every bit as harmful as female genital mutilation. The female genital mutilation goes on a scale from a ceremonial nick to the full removal of clitoris. The vast majority is somewhere in the middle, and that is just below the level of damage which is done by male circumcision, by male genital mutilation. It's done for the same reasons, cultural and religious reasons. And I believe if your God requires you to cut off a third of the skin of your penis and cause all sorts of defects, then you probably need a different God or a different way to worship that God. So yes, it is a very big issue. If people get to the age of 18 and decide to make a informed choice about cutting off part of their body, I think that's fine. They could do that, but I do not believe it should be forced upon babies who have no choice in the matter. And in North America, it's done typical. It's done typically for cultural reasons, not religious reasons. It comes standard in the insurance package price of having a child. Deliver the baby, checking everything's okay, cut a third of the skin off its penis. It's just normal behavior, and that needs to change. So there you are. And with that, I'm going to pull up some outro music. Put your comments on the screen. Jews go at 6 days. Muslims go at 6 years. It causes blunt force trauma in both cases. All sorts of problems with it, and yeah, should not be done. I also believe that if parents were forced to watch the procedure being done on their first son, it would not be done on any further children, because it is fucking horrific to take a 3-day-old baby into an operating ward, strap it down onto a board, tie it down, and chop bits off it, and listen to it crying in the way that a child screams under torture. It's just not right. Right. Hold on. I'm going to have to cancel that. There was an Abu tribe that did circumcision as part of the main rituals from 12 to 14, like when they do the scarring, etc. Leyland brothers, that was from, yeah. It's not good. Not good at all. Right, I'm going to close that down. I'm going to get the outro music up again. And we're going to go.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap, gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Freaking frogs! I don't like a frog! Gay freaking frogs! Frogs! Freaking frog crap! Won't you fight the frogs? It's not funny! I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Frogs! Place point.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much. I've been 42. You lot in the chat have been fucking excellent. Good night. God bless. See you all next week. I'm out of here. Goodbye.